Let's welcome on board Hemang Jani as well, who's joining in on the show. Hemang, thanks so much for taking time out. Let's get in a sense from you as to what exactly the update and outlook is when it comes to the entire FMCG sector. We're talking about the kind of updates that we've gotten in from the likes of Dabur, Marico. Yes, there has been a pickup, but as Vinny, who tracks the sector closely, was saying not as much as expected. What's the sense that you're getting in?
Morning. Yeah, so when you look at the quarterly earnings, the consumer companies per se are expecting a gradual volume improvement. And when we look at our own universe, we are looking at about 7.8% kind of a revenue growth and about 9% kind of a EBITDA growth at the broad sector level. And there is going to be a marginal improvement on a Q on Q basis, considering the macros, the price cuts that some companies have undertaken, and the consumer offers that companies are offering. And that be quite good. What is very interesting to note is that the gross margin will see improvement, which would be at a much slower pace. So coming to the companies that we prefer at this point of time, we would be surely looking at something like a Marico or Dabur. Both have come out with a reasonably good set of numbers. And also, post that controversy, Nestle, looks quite compelling in terms of the valuations.
Nestle is something to watch out for, and of course, Dabur and Marico will be in focus today on account of the updates. And that's the question. At least the front end of the banking names have managed to disappoint with respect to the loan growth, whether it was HDFC Bank or IndusInd Bank right now. What should investors do right now with their holdings? Liquidate a bit, or maybe it's a time to add some?
First quarter, the loan growth remains on a lower side because of the slower offtake and the higher base also. So I'm not too much reading into the lower loan growth. And if you look at the overall composition, for the last almost about 2.5, 3 years, a large part of the earning growth is driven by the BFSI, where the banking plays a very crucial part. So I think when you're looking at the quarterly numbers per se, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, Federal Bank, these are the three names where we expect a very solid performance. And even in terms of valuations, the comfort is pretty much there. So we would go with those. Even from a budget as an event, we would be more comfortable buying into a SBI. So I think these are the names that we would be extremely positive on.
Okay, fair enough. That's the view coming in. There's also updates coming in from Nykaa. I'm curious to get in your take, Hemang, if you track the company, because they're talking about their billings growing about 11%, their overall business updates as well with the GMV being in the mid-20s. How have you tracked Nykaa's performance? Is this something that you would look at, or you steer clear?
Clearly, if you see post the IPO, the company has continued to disappoint, and the overall performance, if you set aside the profit, which, some people were saying that, okay, this is one of the few companies which is making profits. But if you look at the top line growth or overall, growth parameters, the company has continued to disappoint. And when you look at 20% growth on a 50,000 crore market cap, 20% kind of a top line, it does not aspire too much of confidence having seen such a low base. So I would clearly stay away from it. If you want to play a platform company, go with something like Zomato or Policy Bazaar, which are showing much better traction in terms of overall parameters.
I think rural housing. Hemang Jani, good morning. I think rural housing could be an easy budget trade in the run-up to the budget. Should one revisit rural housing stocks?
Yeah, Nikunj, good morning. I definitely think that given the current dynamics in terms of the rural side, where the government would really want to show very clearly that they are taking a lot of steps to kind of get a better sentiment and to rev up the demand and to better their election prospects. So I think whole host of companies, whether it is the finance companies, particularly rural focus one, Mahindra Finance, some of the housing finance companies, particularly the affordable housing finance companies, and also, agriculture based company, whether it's seeds or, the related ones. So I do think the rural, as a theme will play an important role, and that can be participated through finance companies, some of the auto names, some of the FMCG names. And also from a quarterly results perspective, I think this theme should do reasonably well.
Hemang, we were just discussing the charts of Reliance Industries, and it's interesting the kind of move that we've seen, the chatter around Jio and the potential IPO. What is it that you're expecting from Reliance Industries after this run-up?
Clearly, it's been an underperformer in the last 6 months vis-a-vis Nifty, and you're seeing a bit of a catch-up at play. And I think a large part of this rally is driven by the possibility of the ARPU growth and of course the possibility of the Jio IPO whenever it happens. So I do find Reliance quite attractive purely on a valuation basis. And of course, if you have a official announcement from the company, it would be a big trigger for the stock. This quarterly numbers, nothing major in terms of positive surprises. The O2C business should be okay. Retail also very steady kind of a thing. Only Jio would be a vertical where you will see some positive surprise.
Okay. That's the view coming in on Jio platforms. And meantime, Hemang, actually the standout sector last week, without a doubt, was IT. You saw contribution coming in across the board. As we approach then the next earnings season, what's the sense that you're getting when it comes to IT? Is there something that you'd hope for from the managements? Do you think that we'll see this run up continue within the IT stocks?
I think there is a fair bit of catch up at play, and the previews are suggesting that the worst seems to be over. But if you look at the overall picture, it doesn't look as if that there's going to be a major growth or any specific triggers that one is really looking at. So yeah, I mean, as a part of the rotation, you've seen some action across the large IT services companies, or for that matter, the mid cap companies like Persistent. Latent view, etc. But if you look at the growth, it's not looking that good. So I would not be that gung-ho on the IT as such. I would really look to actually prune down some of the positions, maybe, in the large IT services company at this point of time.
Mangjani, do you think Jio could go public anytime soon?
So Nikunj, you have articulated it well that where is the need for the company to take Jio public at this point. If you see historically, Reliance has, over the last 25, 30 years, managed to demonstrate their ability to unlock values by, carving out many companies. And eventually, I do feel that both Jio as well as retail will be carved out. The timing of that is something that we do not know. If you look at the telecom sector per se, the best of the news are there at this point in terms of the ARPU growth. The subscriber base, I don't think there is too much of growth that one can really look at. So the entire growth will necessarily come from the ARPU growth that we may see. So I honestly don't have an answer to when and why the company will take Jio public. But eventually, over the next 1 or 2 years, that's the game plan. And I do think that a large part of the growth that Reliance will give over the next, let's say, 1 year, incremental growth will necessarily come from Jio.
Hemang, just before we let you go, wanted to get your sense regarding the entire pharma space. Last week, we saw stellar rally, whether it was a Wockhardt, whether it was a Lupin, Zydus Life, Laurus Labs, you name any of the stocks, and they were up in high double digits. What are you buying within pharma right now?
I think, after a long time, if you look at the quarterly earnings, pharma, healthcare will contribute in a meaningful way in terms of the Nifty earnings. And particularly when we look at the sector per se, I think, Dr. Reddy, Sun Pharma within the large cap space would do well. Lupin, the overall surprise element from their US product launches is going to be very good. So there is a short-term excitement over there. And particularly the mid cap, where there is going to be a larger action, we expect very good set of numbers after a long time in terms of Laurus Lab. So I think these are the companies that you would be very positive.
Good to have you on the show. Thanks so much for sharing with us your thoughts on the markets, and hope you don't have to wade your way through much traffic and waterlogged roads of Mumbai.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.